He bullied her for being quiet. 10 days later, he's crying and begging for forgiveness. An inspiring story by Heartfelt Tales. The hallway fell silent as Marcus's hand connected with Emma's shoulder, sending her books cascading to the floor like fallen leaves. What he didn't know was that this seemingly fragile 17-year-old girl carried within her a strength that would change everything, not just for her, but for him too. Sometimes, the people we think are weakest hold the power to transform us in ways we never imagined. If this story moves you, please take a moment to like and subscribe to Heartfelt Tales. Your support helps us share more inspiring stories like this one. Emma Chen had perfected the art of invisibility. At Riverside High, she moved through corridors like a ghost, her long black hair creating a curtain between herself and the world. While other teenagers filled the hallways with laughter and chatter, Emma found solace in her sketchbook, drawing intricate portraits of classmates who barely knew she existed. Her silence wasn't born from fear alone, it was a protective shell she'd built after years of moving between foster homes, learning that staying quiet meant staying safe. Marcus Thompson ruled the school through intimidation. At 18, he was the kind of teenager who commanded attention wherever he went, broad shoulders, confident swagger, and a circle of followers who laughed at his every joke. But beneath his tough exterior lay something darker, a desperate need to feel powerful in a world where he often felt powerless. At home, his father's harsh criticism and impossible standards had taught Marcus that strength meant dominating others, that vulnerability was weakness to be crushed. The collision happened on a Tuesday morning near Emma's locker. Marcus was showing off for his friends, playfully shoving his buddy Jake, when Jake stumbled backward into Emma. Her carefully organized books scattered across the floor, and as she knelt to gather them, Marcus saw an opportunity to maintain his image. "Watch where you're going, freak," Marcus sneered, deliberately stepping on one of Emma's drawings as she reached for it. His friends laughed, feeding his ego, but something in Emma's eyes as she looked up at him made his stomach twist uncomfortably. There was no fear there, only a profound sadness that seemed to see right through him. Emma stood slowly, her drawing now torn and dirty under Marcus's shoe. For a moment, their eyes met, and Marcus felt exposed in a way that terrified him. Instead of running or crying like his other victims, Emma simply said, "I'm sorry you're in so much pain." Her voice was barely a whisper, but it cut through him like a blade. The words haunted Marcus for days. How could someone he'd just humiliated apologize to him? How could she see pain he'd spent years hiding behind anger and aggression? He found himself watching Emma from across the cafeteria, noticing things he'd never seen before, the way she sat alone but seemed content, the way she helped younger students with their homework without being asked, the way she smiled at the janitor and asked about his day. 3 days after the incident, Marcus cornered Emma again, this time alone by the art room. His friends weren't there to impress, but the confusion and anger she'd stirred in him demanded an outlet. "What did you mean the other day?" he demanded, backing her against the wall. Emma looked up at him with those same calm eyes. "You're hurting inside," she said simply. Hurt people. But you don't have to keep the cycle going." Marcus felt his carefully constructed walls beginning to crack. "You don't know anything about me," he snapped, but his voice lacked its usual venom. "I know what it's like to feel invisible," Emma continued quietly. "To feel like the world doesn't want you. But making others invisible won't make you feel seen. It just spreads the emptiness." That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. Emma's words echoed in his mind, forcing him to confront truths he'd buried deep. He thought about his father's constant disappointment, the way nothing he did was ever good enough, the way he'd learned to channel that pain into making others feel small because it was the only way he knew how to feel big. Meanwhile, Emma was fighting her own battles. The encounter with Marcus had stirred up memories of other schools, other bullies, other times she'd felt powerless. But something was different this time. For the first time in years, she'd spoken her truth to someone who needed to hear it. In her foster care journal that night, she wrote, "Sometimes healing others helps heal ourselves." By the 5th day, Marcus was actively avoiding Emma, but he couldn't stop thinking about her. He watched as she defended a younger student from another bully, not through aggression but through simple presence and kind words. He saw her give her lunch to a classmate who'd forgotten theirs. He witnessed her staying after art class to help clean paintbrushes without being asked. The turning point came on day 7. Marcus found Emma in the school garden during lunch, sitting alone and sketching. His usual bravado had abandoned him, replaced by something he hadn't felt in years, genuine curiosity about another person. "Can I ask you something?" he said, approaching carefully. Emma looked up, no fear in her expression. "Of course. Why aren't you afraid of me?" Emma set down her pencil and considered the question. "I spent 3 years in a foster home with someone who hurt me every day," she said matter-of-factly. "I learned that fear gives bullies their power. When you stop being afraid, you start seeing them for who they really are, usually scared kids who learn the wrong lessons about strength." Marcus sat down heavily beside her, the fight draining out of him. "I don't know how to be different," he admitted, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. "Different starts with one choice," Emma replied. "Then another choice. Then another. Small acts of kindness instead of cruelty. Building people up instead of tearing them down." Over the next 3 days, something remarkable began to happen. Marcus started small. He stopped participating in his friends' cruel jokes. He picked up books a younger student had dropped instead of walking past. He said hello to the janitor Emma always spoke to. Each small act felt foreign but oddly satisfying, like exercising muscles he'd forgotten he had. Emma, meanwhile, was discovering her own strength. Speaking up to Marcus had awakened something in her, a realization that her voice mattered, that her experiences, however painful, had given her wisdom that could help others. She began participating more in class, joining the art club, and slowly building connections with other students who, like her, existed on the margins. The real test came on day 10. Marcus's usual crew was surrounding a freshman near the lockers, making cruel jokes about the boy's second-hand clothes. Without thinking, Marcus stepped forward, not to join in, but to intervene. "Leave him alone," Marcus said firmly. His friend stared at him in shock. "What's gotten into you, Marcus?" Jake demanded. "Maybe I just got tired of being the kind of person I wouldn't want to know," Marcus replied, helping the freshman gather his scattered books. The confrontation with his former friends was inevitable and painful. They called him weak, a sellout, a loser. But as Marcus walked away from their toxic circle, he felt lighter than he had in years. He wasn't losing friends, he was losing the need to prove himself through others' pain. Emma witnessed the confrontation from across the hall. That afternoon, she approached Marcus by his locker. "That was brave," she said. "That was terrifying," Marcus corrected with a shaky laugh. "Courage isn't the absence of fear," Emma smiled. "It's feeling the fear and doing the right thing anyway." In the weeks that followed, both teenagers continued their transformations. Marcus discovered that real strength came from protecting others, not dominating them. He began tutoring struggling students in math, joined the peer mediation program, and slowly built new friendships based on mutual respect rather than fear. The anger that had driven him for so long didn't disappear overnight, but he learned to channel it into standing up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. Emma found her voice growing stronger with each passing day. She started a support group for students who felt isolated or different, sharing her story and creating a safe space for others to share theirs. Her art became more vibrant, reflecting not just pain but hope, resilience, and the beauty she was discovering in human connection. The school began to change too. Marcus's transformation rippled outward, inspiring other students to reconsider their own behavior. The support group Emma founded grew from 3 members to 20, creating a network of students who looked out for each other and celebrated their differences rather than hiding them. 6 months later, Marcus and Emma were chosen to speak at a school assembly about bullying prevention. Standing on that stage together, the former bully and the shy girl who'd changed his life, they shared their story with honesty and vulnerability. "I used to think strength meant making others feel weak," Marcus told the packed auditorium. "But real strength is lifting others up, especially when they can't lift themselves." Emma's voice, once barely a whisper, now carried clearly across the room. "We all have the power to break cycles of hurt. Sometimes it just takes one person willing to see past the pain to the person underneath." Their partnership in healing continued to grow. They co-founded a mentorship program pairing older students with younger ones, creating connections that prevented isolation and built understanding across different social groups. Emma's artistic talents and Marcus's natural leadership combined to create workshops where students could express themselves safely and work through conflicts constructively. The most profound change, perhaps, was in their own relationship. What had begun with an act of aggression had transformed into a deep friendship built on mutual respect and understanding. They had learned that healing isn't just an individual journey. Sometimes we heal together, through the brave act of seeing each other's humanity even in our darkest moments. Years later, both would look back on that Tuesday morning as the day their real lives began, not because of the conflict, but because of what they chose to do with it. They learned that every interaction is a choice between perpetuating hurt or creating healing, between building walls or building bridges. Emma's journey from silence to strength showed her that her voice, shaped by pain but not defined by it, could be a force for change. Marcus's transformation from aggressor to protector taught him that true power lies not in dominating others but in empowering them. Together, they proved that the most beautiful stories often begin with the most broken moments, and that sometimes the person who hurts us the most can become the catalyst for our greatest growth. Their story reminds us that behind every bully is a hurt child, and behind every victim is a strength waiting to be discovered. Change is possible, healing is achievable, and transformation often begins with the simple act of seeing each other's humanity, even when, especially when, it's hardest to see. Thank you for joining us for another heartfelt tale. Stories like Emma and Marcus's remind us that every ending can be a new beginning, and every person has the potential for transformation. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Your comments mean the world to us. Tell us about a time when someone's kindness changed your perspective or when you chose healing over hurt. Don't forget to subscribe to Heartfelt Tales for more inspiring stories that celebrate the resilience of the human spirit and the power we all have to create positive change in the world. Remember, every small act of kindness creates ripples that can change everything. Until next time, keep spreading light.